they were in a Super Bowl hangover mode, and then they turn it on at the end.
Yeah, I would say, the Super Bowl hangover, it definitely seemed like it applied to this season. There was also, we asked ourselves every week, what is going on? There were so many, we can look back as Eagles fans at this season and think like, wow, if they just, finish off that Titans game or the Carolina game where they lost that 17-point lead in the fourth quarter, like some really kind of just really bad, losses early in the season. Even the Vikings game that we lost early in the season, down 17-0, and we came back and made it a game, but weren't able to get the win. Like those were the losses that kind of put us in the position we were in, having to win out in the last three weeks. And I think that a lot of what I saw this season was the play calling seemed, didn't seem like Doug was playing quite as aggressive. He was being pretty conservative, and maybe now that we found out Carson was hurt the last few weeks before he's been taken out of the lineup, it kind of makes more sense that was part of it, is that maybe Carson wasn't healthy and they might have known that, and maybe they were trying to kind of protect him and not be be a little more conservative, but they weren't taking a lot of deep shots. They weren't running the ball, which was really, could be because they had the injury to Ajayi, and then we didn't have Blunt this year, and we lost him. So, and Sproles was out most of the year. So it wasn't until they started to kind of trust Josh Adams and started to try and establish a running game that they started to have a more balanced attack. And it looked like they were turning around. And then Wentz gets hurt, and it's like this weird deja vu where now you have Foles coming in and you're like, what the hell? I mean, do we even have a shot? And even have we, even with last year as the experience of seeing Foles kind of and the Eagles be complete underdogs throughout the entire playoffs and just win out and have that amazing Super Bowl run and Foles go neck and neck with Tom Brady, like who would have thought any of that was going to happen? So here we are in this weird deja vu, and he wins out. He beats the Rams in LA, and in a pretty convincing fashion. I mean, they kind of made a comeback in the fourth quarter, but we went into LA and just, they basically dominated them by the eyeball test. And then the Houston game was a very tough battle against a good team. And Foles kind of did some miracle work and got him into field goal position, even with that huge hit from Clowney. So, and then the Redskins, the Redskins have been dead in the water since Alex Smith went down. But yeah, for them to kind of come out on top here and be in the playoffs is I think we're just elated and shocked and surprised. And, but with having said all that, being 6-point underdogs going into to the Bears game, like we're kind of optimistic, you know what I mean? Like probably more optimistic than we should be. But again, that's from last year having Foles go into the playoffs and do what he did. It's like we're believers here,
Well, yeah, you should be optimistic because, one weakness it seems like on Philadelphia is their secondary, but Bears don't have much of a passing game, so this might be a really good matchup.
Yeah, I mean that's exactly, and that's kind of the thing. Like we're worried about Khalil Mack and the Bears defense. We're not worried at all about the Bears offense, and and again, part of that, like you said, is the fact that they don't have the greatest passing game, but also when the last few weeks, like I feel like our front seven, our defensive line has really come, they've really kind of gotten back to form and looked like you can tell just watching the game that they are making those quarterbacks run for their lives. The last, in that Texans game, I mean, Deshaun Watson played great, but he also got sacked 4 times, hit 9 times. I think he fumbled and lost it once. And then, same thing in the Skins game, 4 sacks, 8 QB hits, we had a takeaway there. So, our defensive line has started to really kind of be a little bit back to form like they were last year. And that was one of our, I think the factors that got us through the playoffs and last year. So that I think is, we're confident that we can maybe get some takeaways, which we hadn't been getting all year. That's the other thing to go back and answer your first question this year. When we struggled early, we weren't getting any turnovers. And the last few weeks, we started to get some turnovers. Like the Rams game, I think that's the reason we won. 3 takeaways, and Foles played well enough. So yeah, we have a definitely, and I like the Bears too. I think they are one of the teams I was looking at as like a team that could potentially make some noise that nobody's really thinking about. But, But yeah, same thing with, like you said, with the Steelers. Had they gotten in, it's kind of wide open, and that's how we feel in Philly. Is like, we just somehow by a miracle we got in. We've been playing basically playoff football for a month now. So for us, we're like, all right, just one game at a time, another game, let's go.
Yeah, the Bears look amazing, but you gotta wonder, a team that really has almost little to no playoff experience, and the Eagles have, just recently gone to a Super Bowl. So yeah, you gotta wonder. You gotta wonder how those things play out, whether that'll even be a factor.
Right. And then the Eagles being underdogs, that's where I feel like they didn't start playing well, as a unit, as a whole team effort until they were, big underdogs in LA. That's when suddenly they came alive. So they seem to be in their comfort zone.
Yeah. Yeah. Now you mentioned the Clowney hit on Foles. Looks like he might have hurt his ribs. How bad? What are you hearing about that injury? Do you think it's too bad? I mean, obviously he's probably going to start, but
Yeah.
is that going to mess him up too much?
Yeah, no, he's going to start, and we'll see. I think he's okay, but because I really think he got the wind knocked out of him. He's probably bruised. I mean, he's taken a few big hits in the last few weeks. It's the NFL, so I'm sure basically no one's 100% at this point. But I think we'll see. I think he's okay. As long as he doesn't get God forbid he gets hurt with Khalil Mack or something, the Bears. But yeah, he's going to play, and he's a tough guy. He's going to stand in and make throws, and hopefully the offensive line. That's another thing. They started to turn it on the last few weeks as well, because that was another kind of hole, And that's the weird thing again about Foles is like the whole debate in Philly, which is going to rage on. The deeper they go into the playoffs, the more deeper the divide is going to be between the Philly fans of Foles and Wentz. Who wants who. So it'll be interesting to see. But yeah, he's a tough guy. He'll stand in there and he'll make some throws, and hopefully they can protect him better as they had been doing. I mean, Texans is a tough matchup for the offensive line, so they did a decent job protecting him despite the fact that he got hurt on that one play.
Yeah, it is funny how Wentz is supposed to be the golden child and the chosen one, but Foles is the one that keeps winning. So that could get really interesting, especially if the Eagles go on another deep playoff run. It's like
yeah,
which one should we actually keep here? So
no, it's definitely going to. I mean, it's already starting. I mean, even before he went in and won these couple games, they were. There were Foles supporters that were like, Carson Wentz, this and that, like we don't need him, trade. Like, so yeah, it's gonna get a little probably ridiculous. And again, yeah, the further they go into the playoffs, the more, and rightfully so, the more value that Foles is gonna have. And I mean, the Eagles find themselves in a good position in that regard, that they can maybe trade Foles. I would think would be the real, strategic option would be to try and sign and trade. I don't know what they're gonna do with Foles, but yeah, Wentz is supposed to be the future, and I think he still is. He's just he's been hurt all year. I mean, he never. I think he had a week and a half where he was actually starting to feel healthy again, and then he got re-hurt. So,
right. So how's things at the 4th and 26 pod? What do you guys talk about?
We talk every week. We talk Eagles, and we talk about the Sixers as well. That's the other right now really exciting team in Philly, and they've been playing well. They have their own drama going on too, developing as we speak between their three superstars. But yeah, we just talk Eagles and Sixers mostly, and we throw in some kind of around the NFL, around the NBA. We're mostly a big football and NBA podcast, but also when the season starts up, the Phillies and baseball as well. So
very cool. Yeah, I was like we were talking before this. I wish the Phillies and Pirates could be in the same division, so we could get some good Pittsburgh, Philadelphia rivalries going, like the Penguins and the Flyers.
Yeah, that would be nice. I wanted to ask you, what do you think about? I know he hasn't been on the Pirates for a few years, but McCutchen, what do you think about that for the Phillies? Is he probably over the hill? I would think, but. He's a good player.
Lost a step, great guy. I think I think that was a good signing by the Phillies. Uh, yeah, I think that was a really good move by the Phillies. Still got something, and just a great character guy. We literally had like. I don't want to say riots, but we had protests when they traded McCutchen. He was that
Really?
loved in Pittsburgh. I mean, he named his kid Steele for God's sake. That's how much he loved Pittsburgh.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so we still miss him, and yeah, you got a good one there.
yeah. Well, and he's a heck of a veteran president, probably too. I would
Yeah,
imagine
and
at this point in his career.
he'll be a good teammate with Bryce Harper and Machado, right?
Oh yeah, I'm sure they're going to get both of them. They're both like, we don't want to come to Philly. You know, this rink-a-dink city. They want to go to New York or L.A. or we'll see. I mean, I'd be all right with Harper. I think he's kind of that blue-collar player, even though he's kind of like a prima donna a little bit. But seeing him play, like he seems to, he puts in the hustle and he's a gamer. So I mean, his batting average could be higher, but I do like Harper.
It must be nice to follow a team that actually spends some money for once, because Pirates never do that.
Yeah. Well, we were in that same boat.
Yeah, we're always bargain basement.
Yeah. Well, that's how the Phillies were up until I guess 07, 06, and then they started spending their money, and it paid off. I mean, so yeah, we're grateful fans for that, because it was the same boat. We were like, why don't they? They never spend their money, and that's the game. They got to spend that money. You got to get some of these big time stars and fill in their roster with them.
That's right. That's right. All right, sir. Well, thank you so much, Matt from the 4th and 26 pod. You're at 4th and 26 pod on Twitter. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Joe. Appreciate having me on.
It's Wild Card Weekend, and Bears and Eagles play this Sunday afternoon. With me to talk about it is Wanda. Oh boy, is it Weidman?
Weidman.
Oh, so close.
It's all right. It's a common mistake.
At Wanda W63 on Twitter, reporter for OurTurfFootball.com. Also, podcast co-host now of For the Fan and 46 Bears. Wanda, how you doing?
I'm doing well, Joe. How are you?
Doing all right. Kind of missing, as a Steeler fan, kind of missing all this playoff talk, but that's a whole other story.
Yeah, you could go on and on and on about that one.
And we have. And we will. But the Bears have had a great season. I think we talked in July or August, and I'm not sure if they got Khalil Mack yet, but man, you paid a big price for him, but man, is he great with the Bears.
He's worth it. He was the final piece to the puzzle of that defense, since we had already acquired Roquan Smith from the draft in the first round, and we just needed another key piece because the Bears were already in the top 10 defense last season. So it was just one more piece that would just lock it in for the front four. And Khalil Mack just came in at the perfect time, and it's exactly what the Bears needed to just push the limit, push the envelope on the defensive side. So it's very exciting because it's not just the one player, but they are so cohesive. And I think the team itself has learned a lot from just the way that Khalil Mack practices, how he is so intense in how he studies film and stuff. It's just rubbed off on the rest of the defensive players, and they're just all on board together. So it's very exciting. It really is exciting. It's a complete piece.
Yeah, talk about leading by example. And wow, the defense. I mean, they've had 50 sacks and 25 interceptions.
Yeah,
six defensive touchdowns. My goodness.
Yeah, they're really exciting to watch, and they're and now they are the number one defense. Last week they were the number two. after week 17. Now they're number one. So they're the number one defense in the league, and they've worked hard at